I still remember the sound of the door closing behind me on my wedding night. It was soft, almost gentle, as if the world wanted to whisper instead of speak. The lights in our new bedroom were dim, and everything smelled like fresh flowers and new bed sheets. I had spent hours decorating the room, wanting it to feel warm and welcoming. I wanted our first night together to be something we would smile about years later. I had no idea that within a few minutes, the truth would come into that same room and change everything I believed about my new husband. I did not cry that night. I did not scream. I did not even feel angry at first. Instead, I felt something strange and heavy inside me. It was the kind of pain that sits quietly in your chest, the kind that steals your breath without making a sound. Even now, when I think about that moment, I can still feel that same silence inside me. But before all of that happened, before the shock, before the secret, I was just a new bride who wanted to laugh. I wanted to prank my husband. I wanted to do something silly and lighthearted so we could start our married life with a joke, not pressure. Maybe that is why the story hurts even more. Because all I wanted was a small, harmless moment of joy. And instead, I found a truth that changed everything. It happened when I decided to hide under the bed. I know it sounds childish. But I wanted to hear what he would say when he walked into the room alone. Would he call my name softly? Would he look around nervously? Would he laugh when he found me? I imagined all kinds of cute scenes. But the person who walked into the room was not the man I thought he was. And the things he whispered were not words meant for me. That night, my life split into two parts. Before the prank, and after it, and everything after it felt different.
To understand why that moment cut so deep, I have to take you back to how everything started. The story of our marriage didn't begin with fireworks or grand romance. It was simple, calm, almost ordinary. And maybe that is why I trusted him so easily. He felt safe. He felt steady. And in a world full of noise, he felt like quiet. His name is Ian. When we first met, he was polite, soft-spoken, and always kept his distance in a respectful way. He never tried to impress me with big gestures. He never tried to show off. He just talked to me the way people do when they genuinely care about being understood. I liked that about him. I liked how he listened. He would look straight into my eyes when I spoke, and even if I talked about something small, he always acted like it mattered. I had met men who pretended to listen, but Ian, he was not like them. At least, I thought he wasn't. Our families met a few times. Everything felt smooth and peaceful. There were no big disagreements, no hesitation from either side. He told my parents that he wanted a simple life, a peaceful home, and a marriage based on kindness. Those were his exact words. Kindness. That word stayed with me. We talked for about 2 months before the wedding. Not too much, not too little. Just enough to feel comfortable. He told me about his job, his hobbies, the books he liked. He told me he had a small group of close friends and that he did not like crowded places. He said his past was normal, nothing dramatic, nothing unusual. I believed him. I never questioned him deeply. Maybe because I didn't want to complicate something that felt so calm. Maybe because I was tired of stories where people break each other. I wanted something different. I wanted stability. I wanted someone I could trust without thinking twice. I thought Ian was that person. We got married on a quiet afternoon. The sky was soft and gray, like it was holding its breath. The ceremony was simple and small. My dress was light. His eyes kept searching for me in the crowd, and every time they found mine, he gave me a small smile. At that moment, I felt safe. I didn't know safety can sometimes be an illusion. Our first night as a married couple was supposed to be sweet and gentle. Everyone told me not to overthink it, not to feel nervous. Just relax, they said. This is the beginning of something beautiful. I believed that too. After the guests left, I changed into a soft peach-colored dress, brushed my hair, and lit a small candle near the window. I wanted the room to feel warm, not bright. I wanted the night to feel calm, not overwhelming. Ian told me he would be back in a moment. He needed to take a phone call, he said. I nodded. There was nothing strange about it. But he took longer than I expected. And during that small waiting moment, the idea of pranking him just came into my mind. It felt innocent. Harmless. Fun. I whispered to myself, let me see what he does when he thinks I'm not here. And that is how I ended up hiding under the bed. It looked funny at first. I had to push my dress aside and cover my mouth so I wouldn't laugh. The floor was cold, but I didn't mind. I just waited, feeling excited like a little kid. I thought he would walk in, call my name, and maybe even panic a little. I would jump out, laugh, and we would both start our married life with something silly and sweet. But life does not always follow our plans. Sometimes it breaks us with the things we never expected to hear. Because when the door opened, the voice that came in was not the voice of a happy groom looking for his new bride. It was the voice of a man who wasn't alone. And the words he whispered were not for me. But I will come to that moment later. Before I tell you what happened under that bed, you need to know the days that led up to it. You need to understand what kind of connection we had. Because only then you will understand why the truth hurt so deeply. The first time Ian ever spoke to me, he asked me a simple question. Do you like quiet places? I remember smiling, surprised by the question. Most people ask, what's your favorite color, or what do you do? But his question felt more personal, like he wanted to know the kind of world I felt peaceful in. Yes, I told him. I like quiet places because they give me space to breathe. He nodded gently and said, me too. After that, our conversations always had a calm tone. There was no rush, no pressure, no pretended excitement. We talked like two people walking slowly through the same thoughts. It felt easy. Looking back now, I wonder if the ease was real, or if it was just something he allowed me to feel. Some people hide their truth behind silence, not because they are shy, but because silence is the easiest way to avoid being discovered. But I didn't know that then. To me, he was a peaceful man with a soft voice and a steady presence. One evening, 2 weeks before our wedding, we were sitting in a small park. The sunset was soft, and children were playing nearby. Ian sat next to me, his hands folded neatly in his lap. Are you nervous about life after marriage? He asked. A little, I said. But it feels right. He smiled. I will try my best to make things easy for you. At that moment, I believed everything he said. I believed he was honest. I believed he wanted the same life I wanted. I believed he had no secrets. But secrets hide in places you do not think to search. Sometimes they hide behind polite smiles. Sometimes behind soft voices. Sometimes behind promises that feel sincere, and sometimes, they hide inside the silence between two people who think they know each other. I didn't ask about his past. He had mentioned it was normal. He had mentioned no relationship lasted long. I trusted his few words and filled in the rest with my imagination. That was my mistake. Not asking more. Not looking deeper. But trust is a beautiful thing. And dangerous too. The day of our wedding felt like a dream. Everything happened so quickly. The flowers, the guests, the blessings, the laughter. It all felt like a soft blur. Each time Ian looked at me, he gave me a smile that felt warm enough to calm all my nerves. When we took photos together, his hand rested lightly on my back. He didn't grip too tightly, didn't act too forward. Everything he did made him look gentle and respectful. Everyone praised him. Everyone said I was lucky. Everyone said he had a good character. Nobody said he had a secret. Nobody said he had a girlfriend. Nobody said he wasn't fully mine. Because nobody knew. And I didn't know too. By the time we reached our room that night, I was tired but happy. Ian looked tired too, but he smiled at me softly. "I will be back," he said. "I just need to take a call." I nodded. I didn't think anything of it. People make phone calls. Life does not pause just because two people get married. But minutes passed. Then more minutes. Enough for my mind to wander. That is when the silly idea came. Hide under the bed. Prank him. Make him laugh. I did not know destiny was waiting beneath that bed with me. I lowered myself slowly and slid into the space under the frame. The wood above my head felt cold. My heart beat fast with excitement, not fear. The door clicked open. But when I heard his voice, something inside me froze. He was not alone. His voice was low and soft, but not in a way husbands speak to their wives. It was a voice full of guilt, longing, and something even deeper, something I had never heard before. He whispered a name, a woman's name. Not mine. And that is when my world began to change. Because while I was hiding under the bed to create a moment of joy, he walked in with a truth that would break my heart. The moment I heard her name, my heart stopped. It felt like someone pressed a hand against my chest and pushed all the air out of me. I froze under the bed, my fingers gripping the floor, my breath held tight. He said it softly, almost like a prayer. Almost like he missed her. "Zara. I am sorry." I had never heard him say any woman's name with so much weight. His voice was shaking, not with fear, but with something older, something deeper. It was the voice of a man who carried a wound he had never allowed to heal. I stayed absolutely still. I did not move. I did not even blink. And then I heard him take a slow breath. "I know you are angry," he whispered. "I know I should not have done this. But everything happened so fast." His footsteps moved closer to the bed. I pressed myself deeper into the shadows, praying he wouldn't bend down and see me. My heart beat so loudly I was scared he could hear it. "I got married today," he said quietly. His voice cracked. "It does not feel real." My stomach tightened. Every word felt like a knife turning slowly inside me. He was talking on the phone. Not to me. Not to family. Not to a friend. To her. To the woman he still loved. And I was lying under the bed, listening to my own husband explain his marriage to someone else. I thought maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe it was a cousin, a friend, someone who was joking. But his next sentence shattered all my hope. "I still love you, Zara." My eyes filled instantly. Hot tears slid down my temples and into my hair. I covered my mouth with both hands so he wouldn't hear the small, broken sound that escaped me that he loved someone else. Not me. Not the woman he had married only hours ago. He was married to me. But his heart belonged to her. He sat down on the floor next to the bed. I could see only his shoes, his shadow, and his trembling hand. He rested his forehead against the edge of the bed frame. "I could not stop the marriage," he whispered. "You know how families are." My mother kept pushing. I tried to explain, but everything happened too fast. I closed my eyes. Each word felt like a slap. So this was never about love. Never about a future with me. Never about kindness. It was a compromise. A decision made somewhere else. A marriage built on half-truths. I stayed silent, listening. Not because I wanted to. But because I was too shocked to move. "I promise you," he said softly, "I will figure something out." He paused. "I just need time." The silence that followed was long and heavy. He breathed shakily, as if he was hurting too. But his pain felt like betrayal to me. Because he wasn't hurting for me. He was hurting for her. Slowly, I heard him say goodbye. His voice was low, almost desperate. "Please wait for me, Zara." When he ended the call, he didn't move for a long time. He just sat there, staring at the floor. I watched his shoes. They stayed still. He didn't cry. He didn't break. He just sank into a deep silence. A silence filled with guilt. And maybe hope for someone who was not me. Minutes passed. Maybe 5. Maybe 10. I could not count them. Then he stood up slowly, like someone who had lost strength. He walked to the mirror, and I saw his shadow stretch across the wall. He touched his face with both hands, inhaling sharply. "What am I doing?" he whispered to himself. His voice was full of conflict, as if he was fighting something inside him. But even that did not comfort me. Because the conflict was not about me. It was about choosing between two lives. And I was not the one he loved. After a long moment, he left the room. The door closed behind him. I stayed under the bed for many minutes after that. I couldn't move. My body felt numb. My throat was tight. My mind was spinning. My wedding night. The night everyone dreams about. Had turned into the moment I learned that my husband's heart was already taken. I finally crawled out slowly. My hands were shaking. My dress was wrinkled. My hair had fallen across my face. I looked like someone who had been hiding from a storm. And in a way, I had. I sat on the floor, leaning against the bed, staring at nothing. My chest was heavy, too heavy to hold. My eyes felt like they had cried years' worth of tears in a few minutes. Why did he marry me if he loved someone else? Why didn't he tell me the truth? Why did he let me fall into a dream that was never meant to be mine? The room felt colder now. The candle I had lit earlier flickered weakly. Its light felt small, like my hopes. I wiped my tears and stood up. My legs were unsteady. I looked at myself in the mirror. I did not look like a bride anymore. I looked like someone who had aged in one night. But something inside me whispered. Do not react now. Do not confront him now. Not tonight. It wasn't fear. It wasn't weakness. It was instinct. When a heart is hurting, the mind becomes confused. And I did not want to break my future with a reaction born out of shock. I wanted to understand. I wanted to know the full truth. I wanted to hear his story, even if it destroyed me. Ian came back after a while. I heard his footsteps outside the room. I quickly wiped my face with my sleeves and sat on the edge of the bed, pretending to be calm. He entered quietly. Too quietly as if he had done something he regretted. He looked at me with tired eyes. You are awake? I nodded. My voice felt trapped inside me, so I did not speak. He sat on the other side of the bed. There was a small distance between us. A distance filled with secrets I had discovered too early. He looked at his hands. His shoulders were tense. I had to take a call, he said softly, repeating the same excuse as before. I just nodded. He did not look at me for long. Maybe he didn't want his eyes to reveal the truth. Maybe the weight of the call was still sitting on his chest. Maybe he was scared I would see something he didn't want to show. We lay down that night. Side by side. But farther apart than two strangers. Neither of us reached for the other. Neither of us spoke. Neither of us breathed too loudly. It was supposed to be the first night of our new life. Instead, it felt like the last night of something I never even had. I closed my eyes, but sleep didn't come. I kept hearing his words. I still love you, Zara. They echoed in my head like whispers that refused to fade. I wondered how deep their love was. How long they were together. How much of his heart she owned. But the question that hurt the most was this. Was I ever more than a responsibility to him? The next morning, the world seemed normal. Sunlight entered the room. Birds chirped outside. People in the house talked and moved around. But inside me, everything was broken. Ian acted calm. Too calm. He avoided eye contact. He spoke softly. He smiled politely at others. But there was a heaviness in his eyes. A guilt that seemed buried beneath his careful expression. As we ate breakfast, he sat across from me. His fingers tapped slowly on the table, a small nervous habit he probably didn't notice. I watched him, wondering how many lies sat behind that calm face. After breakfast, he stepped out to talk to his cousin. I knew he would not talk about the call. He would not mention her. He would not mention the truth I now carried alone. He did not know that I knew. And that was the part that cut the deepest. I wanted to ask him. I wanted to demand an explanation. I wanted to shout, "Why did you do this to me?" But I could not. My voice was too tired. My heart was too confused. And my mind wanted to understand before it reacted. So I waited. I watched him closely for the next few hours. His gentle smile. His calm tone. His polite behavior. All of it felt like a carefully built mask. Was he thinking of her while sitting next to me? Was he missing her while talking to me? Was his heart somewhere else while everyone thought he was mine? The questions grew heavier with each hour. Later that afternoon, something unexpected happened. Ian's phone buzzed. He picked it up. He looked at the screen. And for a moment, his face changed. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was longing. He quickly stood up and walked toward the balcony. He lowered his voice, but I could still hear the softness in his tone. "Zara, not now." My chest tightened again. He still spoke to her. He still cared for her. He still carried her inside him. And I was just the woman wearing his ring. I turned away and wiped a tear before it could fall. That was when I realized something important. The truth wasn't going to stay hidden for long. Not because he would confess. But because secrets always find a way to rise. That night under the bed was not the end of the truth. It was only the beginning. For 2 days, I lived in a quiet storm. Outside, the world seemed calm. Inside, everything felt uncertain and heavy. Ian moved around the house like someone carrying a hidden weight. He did not say anything wrong, but he did not say anything right either. His words were careful. His smiles were soft but distracted. His eyes often drifted to his phone. Sometimes he locked the screen quickly when I walked by. I pretended not to notice. Not because I was weak. But because I needed to understand the full truth before taking a step. Every night, when we lay on the same bed, the distance between us grew wider. We were close in body, but far in heart. Sometimes he turned his back to me. Sometimes I turned mine to him. The silence between us felt like a wall neither of us dared to break. But silence, no matter how thick, never stays forever. On the third night, everything changed. It was late evening. The sky outside was dark, and soft rain tapped against the windows. The room smelled of wet earth and quiet sadness. I stood near the dressing table, brushing my hair slowly, trying to calm my thoughts. Ian entered the room quietly. He looked tired. His shoulders slouched a little. His eyes carried a long, deep exhaustion. He closed the door gently behind him. For a moment, he just stood there, staring at the floor, as if gathering courage for something difficult. I felt my heart beat faster. I knew something was coming. Something that had been waiting between us since our wedding night. He walked toward the bed and sat down slowly. His fingers rubbed his forehead. He kept breathing deeply, like someone preparing to confess a truth they had avoided for too long. Finally, he spoke. "We need to talk." Those 4 words felt like a stone dropped into still water. Ripples ran through my whole chest. My hand paused in my hair. I placed the brush down gently. I turned toward him. His eyes lifted to meet mine. For the first time in days, he didn't hide anything behind them. No politeness. No careful mask. Just raw hesitation, and something like fear. I sat on the edge of the bed, leaving a soft distance between us. He inhaled deeply. I think you already know something is wrong. I didn't blink. I didn't speak. I only nodded slightly. His voice softened. You heard something, didn't you? My hands tightened around the blanket. I felt my throat close. I didn't want to lie. Yes, I said quietly. The word hung in the air like a fragile glass. His eyes lowered instantly. Not in anger. In shame. What, exactly did you hear? He asked softly. My chest tightened. I didn't want to repeat it. I didn't want to break myself all over again. But the truth needed space to breathe. I heard you talking to someone, I whispered. I heard her name. He closed his eyes slowly. Like someone bracing for impact. I continued, my voice trembling gently. I heard you say, you still love her. The silence that followed was heavy. Painful. Complete. Rain outside gathered against the window, as if the sky itself was listening. He didn't move for a long moment. His shoulders dropped a little. As if the truth finally had weight now that it was spoken aloud. When he finally opened his eyes, they were softer, almost sad. I did love her, he said quietly. His voice shook. But I promise you, it is not as simple as it sounded. My heart tightened. Every word opened a new ache. Yet I needed to hear them. Then tell me, I whispered. Tell me everything. He looked down at his hands. He rubbed his thumb slowly against his palm, a nervous habit I had already learned to recognize. We were together for 3 years, he said, voice low. Her name is Zara. She was my first real love. My closest friend. She understood me in a way no one else ever did. I swallowed hard. 3 years. A real love. A deep connection. Every detail felt like another thread pulling at the fragile seam of my heart. He continued quietly. We were planning to get married. We even had a date in mind. My breath caught. The walls around me felt suddenly smaller. But then, he said, his voice dropping lower, my family found out things about her they did not like. They said her family was too different from ours. They said she was not suitable. They said if I married her, I would ruin everything. My hands tightened on the blanket. What did you do? I asked, even though part of me already knew. He looked away. I fought them at first. I argued. I tried to convince them. But things got worse. My father stopped speaking to me for weeks. My mother fell sick because of the fights. He paused. Finally. I had no strength left. I broke it off. A small gasp escaped me. Not loud. Just soft pain. You ended it because of them? I asked gently. His voice cracked slightly. I thought it was the right thing. I thought time would heal everything. I thought maybe I would move on. He ran a hand through his hair, eyes glistening faintly. But I never moved on. The simplicity of his words cut deeper than anything else. He looked at me again, finally raising his eyes fully. When our families discussed our marriage, I didn't say yes out of love. I said yes because I thought it was the only way to make everything normal again. His words trembled. I didn't know you. I didn't want to hurt you. I just didn't know what else to do. My eyes burned. I looked down at my hands. I felt small cracks spreading inside my chest again. So you married me, I whispered, hoping it would help you forget her. He didn't deny it. He didn't look away. Yes. That single word felt like a quiet knife. I didn't speak for a moment. I needed space, air, something to hold on to. But he continued before I could gather myself. The call you heard. I shouldn't have answered. I know that. It was a mistake. She called me crying. She said she still loved me. She said she couldn't let go. His voice softened into guilt. And I didn't want to hurt her either. I looked up at him slowly. So you are hurting both of us, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, because you don't want to hurt anyone. The truth sat between us, sharp and honest. He didn't deny it. He just nodded, a small, broken motion. I know, he breathed. I know I made everything worse. I know I am unfair to you. I know I am wrong. His voice trembled again. But I swear. I never meant to lie. I just didn't know how to face this. I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't see a selfish man. I saw a scared one. A confused one. A man torn between duty and love. Between past and present. Between guilt and emptiness. But his confusion still hurt. His honesty still wounded. His truth still felt heavy. What do you want now? I asked softly. He looked at me then. Truly looked. His eyes finally met mine with a fullness he had not shown before. I don't know, he whispered. That answer hurt more than a no. More than anger. More than anything he had said so far. Because sometimes, I don't know means, I don't feel enough. I stayed quiet for a long moment. I breathed slowly. I let the truth settle like dust on old furniture. Then I spoke, my voice calm but trembling. Do you still love her? The question seemed to shake him. His jaw tightened. His eyes flickered away. He breathed deeply. Yes, he whispered. My heart broke quietly. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a slow, quiet cracking inside my chest. I nodded very slowly. A gentle surrender. And me? I asked. He looked at me with softness, almost kindness, but no fire, no longing, no love. I respect you, he said softly. I care about you. I want to protect you. But love, that takes time. His honesty was kind. But kindness sometimes hurts more than cruelty. I inhaled deeply, allowing the truth to settle inside me. So where does that leave us? I asked. He lowered his head. I don't know. Again. Always. I don't know. As if my heart was a problem he could not solve. The rain outside became heavier. A soft rumble of thunder echoed. The air in the room felt cold. I stood up slowly, my hands trembling slightly. I need some time alone, I said quietly. He nodded. I walked out of the room and stepped onto the balcony. The cool air touched my face. The rain misted lightly on my skin. I looked out into the night, the lights far away blurry through the water on my eyelashes. My heart felt heavy. But strangely calm too. This was the truth. Not a guess. Not a fear. Not my imagination. And truth, no matter how painful, is always clearer than half-hidden lies. As I stood there, something inside me shifted. Not anger. Not hatred. Not revenge. Just a quiet strength. A soft realization. A calm thought. If he is torn between two worlds, then I must decide which world I will live in. Not in confusion. Not in begging. Not in waiting for someone to choose me. But in clarity. The turning point wasn't just his confession. It was my awakening. I had entered this marriage as a girl with dreams. Now I stood in it as a woman facing truth. And I knew the next steps would shape whatever came after. For him. For me. For the shadow of a love that wasn't mine. And maybe never would be. I do not know how long I sat outside in the garden that night. The air was cool. The sky had no moon. And for the first time since my wedding day, I felt completely empty. I could still hear his words in my mind. Her name. Their memories. The little details that sting the most. It was like my heart was moving between sadness, fear, and a strange quietness I could not describe. I wrapped my shawl tighter around me. I kept whispering to myself, stay calm. Just breathe. Because deep inside, I knew this truth could destroy me if I let it. After a few minutes, I felt footsteps behind me. Slow, hesitant, heavy. He sat beside me, but not too close. There was a silence between us, as if even the night was waiting to hear what would happen. I am sorry, he said again, softly. Not in a defensive way. Not in an angry way. Just a tired, broken voice. I looked at him. His hands were shaking. His eyes looked dim, like he had not slept properly in years. For a moment, he looked like someone carrying a lifetime of mistakes, not just one secret. I asked him quietly, why did you never tell me? He stared at the ground. I was afraid, he said. Afraid you would leave. Afraid your family wouldn't let the marriage happen. Afraid my past would ruin your present. He paused and swallowed hard. She was a big part of my life. I won't lie. I cared about her deeply. But she was not my forever. Not in that way. We ended because she wanted something different. I was left alone. And when I met you, you felt safe. You felt like peace. And I didn't want to lose that. I listened. Not interrupting. Not reacting strongly. Just listening, because that was all I could do without breaking again. I thought if I hid the past, he continued, things would stay simple. I could start fresh. I could be the man you deserve, without any shadows behind me. He let out a slow breath. But shadows don't disappear just because you close your eyes. They follow you. And tonight, you saw mine. The night felt still, like the world had paused just to hear him speak. I said gently, you should have trusted me. He nodded immediately, like he had been waiting to hear those words. Yes. Yes, I should have. And I'm sorry I didn't. His voice trembled. I never wanted to hurt you. For a moment, I felt the weight of everything. The shock. The pain. The confusion. But also the truth that people are complicated. And sometimes, they hide their past not because they don't love you, but because they are afraid you will stop loving them. I looked at him again and asked, do you still love her? He shook his head without hesitation. No. What I felt for her was real at that time, but it's not my present. And it's not my future. I wanted to believe him. I needed to. But a part of me still felt bruised. He reached out slowly, carefully, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to touch me. His hand rested close to mine on the bench, not touching, just waiting. I want to build a life with you, he said. With honesty. With trust. With the truth, even when the truth is difficult. I let out a long breath. Everything in me felt fragile. But I could also feel something else beginning slowly. A tiny, trembling sense of clarity. I said quietly, I need time. He nodded again. He accepted it. He didn't rush me. He didn't argue or defend himself. He simply said, take all the time you need. I will wait. There was something sincere in his tone. Something that felt real. Not perfect, not polished, just human. We sat together like that for a few more minutes. No shouting. No drama. Only the sound of leaves moving gently in the wind, and two people trying to understand their place in each other's lives. When we went back inside, I walked to the bedroom first. He walked behind me but stayed at the door, like he didn't want to enter without permission. You can sleep here, I said softly. On your side. His shoulders dropped slightly, as if he had been holding his breath. Thank you, he whispered. I lay on the bed, facing the wall. He lay a little distance away, facing the opposite wall. We did not speak again. But I could hear his breathing, slow and steady. And every now and then, I felt the bed shift slightly, as if he was turning in discomfort, unable to rest properly. Maybe I slept for an hour. Maybe 2. When I woke up, the room was still dark, but I heard a soft sound. A quiet sniff. A breath catching. He was crying. Silently. Trying so hard not to wake me. That moment softened something inside me. Not forgiveness. Not love. Just understanding. People who don't care don't cry like that. In the morning, he made breakfast and left it on the table. He didn't wake me. He didn't hover. He simply let me take my space. For the next few days, things were slow and gentle. He spoke carefully. He listened more. He did not hide his phone. He did not avoid any questions. One evening, he showed me all the messages between him and his ex. Old ones. New ones. Then he blocked her in front of me. I want you to know, he said softly, that this chapter is closed. For good. I appreciated it. It didn't fix everything overnight. But it mattered. Trust is something that grows back slowly. Over time, the pain eased a little. The sharp edges became softer. The anger melted into quiet sadness. And slowly, very slowly, understanding took its place. I saw him trying. Not with grand gestures. But with small, everyday actions. Checking on me before leaving for work. Asking me how I felt. Sitting with me even when neither of us had anything to say. Cooking dinner on days I seemed tired. Laughing softly at things I said, trying to lighten the air. Step by step, we rebuilt something. Not the same thing we had before. Not a perfect love story. But something honest. Something grounded. Something real. One night, a few weeks later, he held my hand for the first time since that painful conversation. His grip was gentle, almost hesitant. I did not pull away. He whispered, "Thank you for giving me another chance." I didn't answer immediately. I just closed my eyes. Because forgiveness is not a single moment. It is a slow journey. And I had started that journey. Life did not change in one moment. It changed slowly. Quietly. In small breaths, small conversations, and small steps that brought us back toward each other. For weeks, I woke up every day wondering what my heart wanted. Sometimes I felt strong. Sometimes I felt tired. Sometimes I missed the version of us that existed before I knew his secret. And sometimes I felt grateful that at least now, everything was honest. Healing does not happen like lightning. It happens like sunrise. Soft. Gradual. Almost invisible until suddenly the world looks different again. He continued trying in little ways. If I was silent, he didn't push me. If I needed space, he gave it. If I wanted to talk, he listened with full attention, without defending himself or explaining too much. He let my emotions exist without telling me they were wrong. One evening, after a quiet dinner, he said, "I know I hurt you. I know I cannot erase it. But I want to spend my whole life making sure I never become that man again." I believed him. Not because of his words. But because of his behavior. Because he was choosing honesty every day. Because he was walking carefully through my heart as if it were made of glass. It still took time. Some days were easier. Some days were heavy. But slowly, I began to understand something important. His past was not an enemy. It was just a story he had lived before me. And I had a choice, either hold on to the ghost of it, or hold on to the present where he was trying with sincerity. One afternoon, months later, we visited a small lake outside the city. The water was calm. The wind was gentle. And for the first time since our wedding night, I felt peaceful beside him. Not nervous. Not hurt. Just peaceful. We sat on the grass, and he looked at me with a quiet expression. "Can I ask you something?" he said. I nodded. "Do you think we can truly start again?" His voice was soft. Not demanding. Just hopeful. I didn't rush my answer. I watched the lake shimmer in the light. I listened to the leaves moving above us. And I realized that forgiveness had arrived so naturally that I didn't even notice the moment it entered. I looked at him and said, "Yes. I think we already have." Something in him eased. His shoulders relaxed. His eyes softened. Like he had been carrying a heavy fear and finally set it down. We sat closer than usual. He held my hand. And this time, I held his back without hesitation. In that moment, I understood something about love. It is not about perfection. It is not about a life without mistakes. It is not about two people with spotless pasts. Love is patient. Love is slow. Love is two people choosing each other again, even after the truth makes them tremble. Later that night, as we drove home, he played my favorite song in the car. He didn't say much. I didn't either. But there was a quiet warmth between us, soft and steady. We were not the couple who started with fairy tale perfection. We were the couple who stumbled early, and learned to stand again. And maybe that is its own kind of strength. Even now, when I think back to our first night, I still feel a small ache. Not because of the secret he kept. But because of how fragile everything felt in that moment. How close we came to breaking before we even began. But I also feel something else. Something comforting. Something true. We survived it. We grew through it. We learned to speak honestly, to listen without fear, and to trust slowly but deeply. Sometimes, the hardest stories become the ones that shape us the most. And if someone asked me today what I learned from everything, I would answer quietly. Never hide the truth from the person you love. Secrets may feel small, but they grow in the dark. And when they finally come into the light, they can break the strongest hearts. But I would also add something softer.